Jesus.
Listen, it's been in the family. Like Paddy's kids now, and my kids are generation number 8.
Yes.
It was built in 1800s. There was an older mill next to it, going back into the 18th century. I'm trying to preserve it, but UCC have been in here over the last 4 or 5 years, and they've kind of quantified the importance of it. So,
right,
like a lot of the original mechanics and timbers still there. Like so,
yeah.
like they classify this now as an exemplar building, and it's number 1 in Cork, probably in the top 5 in Ireland in terms of originality. And there's a really interesting story. Then in 1886 there was a failed eviction attempt. A great granduncle of ours, he boarded off, he closed off the lower lofts, and there was about 20 men up in the upper lofts. And like my dad said, as the eviction horn that a neighbour blew the side of the hill, and by the time the eviction party came, you had about 3,000 people in the fields all around. And so they failed in that attempt to get them out. But it was reported, obviously there was a lot of evictions at the time. Very few were resisted, so there was 2 artists here on the day, one from the London Illustrated News, which was one of the biggest newspapers in London, and one from an Irish nationalist paper, United Ireland, and they both drew the scenes,
Yeah.
They're both very similar. It's really interesting to look at them,
Yeah.
That whole story, I could give you a couple of hours on that alone, but that's sort of a really interesting story like that. But then you've got the mill itself and all the what's still left there, Yeah. I'll take a stroll. Let it tell its own story. You would have seen the beams coming.
Aye, the great big beams over there.
Yeah, so these are all special. These are from Tipperary, actually. Patrick Sheehan and his son and his wife, lovely people. But they cut these about 2 months ago from Douglas fir. But each, they're an inch thick, and that one now is about 300 wide, but they're different widths,
Aye.
just to kind of give it a bit of sense of similar to what was there before. And these are the joists. Then they're 5x4. They're just that extra bit strong again, just so we can use that particular lock. So when you walk in here, you're kind of walking into the first floor level. So as you go around the side of the mill, the ground drops away. So the basement level is below us with a lot of the mechanisms. So this would have been where the millstones. Watch your heads there. It's quite low.
Yeah.
So it's a bit messy now at the minute with all the work, but and a bit dark. There's 3 sets of millstones here. They're set up in the kind of 3 stages really. So this millstone would have been running here. It's got the cover on it. It's called a keeve. But your grain will go in the top here and gets shaked into the centre of the stone. And your top stone is spinning 160 RPM, I think is the speed. That's kind of set up to go, dressed and ready with about 60 years. This one is dressed and just needs a cover put on to be reassembled. And this millstone then was being dressed. When my uncle died in '96, actually, we dressed that before he died.
Right.
I couldn't say I did it, but I did it with him, which was kind of, it was interesting to see it. And underneath in there supported, there's like, they're at least 12-inch square pitch point posts standing on end either side. Yeah. The thing with mills, you see, they're either been developed. So once either have been developed, or else once the roof goes, they fall away.
Once the roof goes, the whole thing falls away very fast.
Yes, because the weight of the millstones,
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I suppose the previous generation before me, they kept a good roof on the mill. And even though it's not the original slate roof, it's a corrugated iron roof, but it was cheap and cheerful, kept the rain out. Oh, it saved everything here,
Yes.
The essence of what we're trying to do is trying to keep as much of the original as we can. Because like it's full of stories. You look at those beams. If I show you here now, names etched into them, like ancestors of ours. You've got the shipping marks here from the original. Like you can see the marks on the beam there.
Yeah.
So they would have been either, if they're out in the yard, maybe location beams to where they were going in the mill. There's more here, look. I was actually write them all down because there's no logic to what they are, but I'd like to draw them out and lay them out. Because there might have been shipping marks as well, because these would have come from either up the country or maybe the UK.
Yeah.
And if you look along the edge, then you see all, like these would have been shaped by hand.
Yeah, you can see it goes in and out and...
No machine, it wasn't a bandsaw to cut that.
Exactly, you see it there now, the
Yeah.
ads. We got a kind of special preservative now. I always thought these were knackered, and it was kind of killing me because they're a real part of the mill and the character. But as I've learned a bit more and people come in, it's like they're actually sewn. And we can treat them. And the biggest problem was the end of the beam would be rotten.
I end the wall.
So we've got this. That's a repair there now. No, it's still supportive. That prop will be gone soon. So we've got. There's 95% of the original beam there, and it's got a new end on it. But what's inside that, there's a channel running between the old and the new.
Yes.
And we've got steel in there, and special resin came from. There's a company in Wales who specialise in this.
That sort of work.
When they built it, they were putting 10,000 barrels a year of grain through the building.
Right.
So it was
What's that winning machine? Is
that's actually a winnowing machine that my grandfather died in 1958, and he designed and built that. And it's run off the water. You can see the pulley at the back there.
Yeah.
So this has been run off the water.
Yeah, so we're cleaning up grain or whatever.
Yeah, so I want to kind of preserve it. It's a bit of a, it's a bit of a mad old thing. I'll show you the up here now. There's just be careful now. These are the original steps now in the middle of the. Even little details like that, like these are, and you can tell they're the proper original old, like, you know.
Yeah, old threads,
because nowadays they'd be fucked in with a few screws.
And that's it, yeah.
If you were here now, a month ago, 2 months ago, there was with 60 years of bird shit and rubbish on that loft and this loft, and literally my wife's brother Paddy gave me his grain trailer for about a month, and I parked it outside the window.
kept shoveling it out.
Put on a mask and a suit and just filled that, and these lofts were just, you couldn't walk in them, you know. So then, but as we start getting familiar with it, a lot of the loft is okay, but you can see behind you there what's gone in.
Yeah.
But again, like in my life, you've never, like, people haven't stood over there in nearly 100 years, I'd say.
So the last time the mill worked then?
Well, it's still running, the turbine and stuff, but as a kind of a business, it petered out. I would say the last paying customer, probably in the 80s, late 80s, would come, but they were just, at that point, there was very little money to be made. But like, for whatever reason, like, if you go to Flahavans down in Kilmacthomas, you know, like, the mill is gone and they've developed that, and they kind of went with the times, whereas here they didn't.
It didn't move with the times.
And I think my father and my uncle were big into machinery then as well, and the trashing and the binding, and so they were on the road and farming. And
the mill wasn't just that big an interest.
I suppose I think the eviction story though is key. There's something about that, I think, that. Because I remember as a child hearing that, like, and you know the way, especially the older generation, telling the stories.
Yes.
And they'd be telling stories about the eviction, or the troubles, and sort of what we went through around those times. And it's like, you'd just be riveted, you know. And that generation and my uncle had a sense of, what's the word? There was a kind of an onus on, a responsibility to preserve the story, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it as well, you know.
Part of the heritage of the mill.
So this loft in here, so when I went for the funding, it was like, I can't get at the windows, the roof is shagged. So I said, right, she was like, okay, let's get a new loft in here, because that gives me a new loft at this level that when it's done I can use, but also it gives me, it's like a scaffold to get at.
Another stereo up.
Exact, so all of a sudden, like, if I have a bird problem here, but I have to get ladders up and deep dodgy lofts, and it's dangerous, and it's very hard to keep them out, you know.
Yeah.
So all the work you've seen so far is really just to make it safe where you're standing out.
To get on to the next level.
Yeah, like, we're getting those big beams in the yard in here now on Monday.
Right. Yeah.
And they're heavy, like, you know. We have a roller made up there in the window and stuff.
Yes.
So they'll come in the window, and it's we can do it with confidence that this is
safe,
propped right to the ground. I take you up if you're willing to climb a ladder. There's an old kiln up there. It's a nice, interesting feature. But
so there would have been another 2 floors, is there?
Yeah. So the original roof was a double pitched roof.
Yeah.
And the 2 front gables are still there. They knocked the back gables, and they just put this on. I'd say 50s-ish. But the kiln here, did you see one of these now up in Middleton Grain Distillery intact? But what makes this very unusual is, and I don't know. So if you were to look at the plan of the mill, about a quarter of the plan is 4 walls coming up to support this structure.
Yeah.
So what you had in here was, so essentially you had across the tops of the arches there would have been metal, some sort of a T-bar, I'd say, or something to basically support a loft of bricks like that.
Yeah.
With holes in them.
And so they'd bring in their damp grain or whatever and lay it out. And in here then there was a door here. This is handy. I think the day of the eviction, 1986, they were taking bricks out of this and throwing it down the tops of the boys outside. But they actually opened up nice to be able to describe how it works.
Yes.
But they would light a fire in here, and the heat, must have been a chimney up the middle.
Through the centre.
And obviously the heat would dry the corn, and they'd
return it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But underneath this is the main bedroom, the living quarters, and it's a lovely arched room.
To support this.
To support this, and I can only think that they put it up here.
It served two purposes. You had
Maybe
heat.
it kind of heated the room or the building
Yeah.
below. I don't know, because you're drawing grain, whole grain in a bag is heavy. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
And to get it up this high up into the building.
and it's damp. No, they had a winch
Yeah.
run off the wall, the mill wheel. Very it's just a very unusual thing to come across up through 4 stories up, you know.
Yeah.
This whole new roof now is all being replaced. So the rest of the roof is 35 years old, and you see we're up here. The only way to get out of safety is to scaffold it, and that's beginning to rot. And it's like, right, with the scaffolding up, let's take all the sheets off, and then and make it proper watertight, you know. So and it's nice to come up here. Then this will be the place now for the eviction story, because this is where those guys would have been.
They were here,
and like that. The guys out in the yard who were the eviction party, they pulled the guns out, like, and they were taking formation, going to fire on if the local police stood in front of them. And actually, when Tim Hurley then was taken to Cork, he was arrested a few days later. The brave men that they were, or that the governing people at the time, they sent it. There was a train came from Bantry, a train came from Cork. Armed militia came in and kicked. His wife was here, and she had the kids were she was her mid-30s. The kids were. The eldest was 7 or 8.
Yes.
And out the gap, you know.
Alright.
So,
Some work.
Some job.
Isn't it? Oh, that's what the archway in support.
yeah,
Few strong.
Something else that.
So the river's at the other side of the that field there. And about 100 metres that way, there's a weir, a weir as they call it around here.
Where?
And you have the weir hole, was a great swimming hole, you know, but that's across the river. It obviously lifts the level of the river and diverts it in here. So by the time as we're standing here now, there's probably 12 foot of a difference between here and the river.
And over there.
You see where the mill was here, the arch. So the problem was back in the turn of the century, the previous century, around the big crack in the wall there, you know. So you had a big heavy mechanism here.
Yes.
And I suppose they felt that was the vibration of that. It was pulling out the wall.
Yeah, you can see that.
Oh yeah, she was splitting.
Yeah. This mill wheel would have been a kind of like a cog-based system. So you had a big wheel here with a shaft going in, catching a vertical shaft which went right up
to power
the
the
mill.
hole at the top.
And then you had kind of other bigger cog systems inside and driving the millstones and kind of shafts for the mill, you know. What we have today is, so he got in 1918 he got a turbine in, which is, so he went from a huge
round wheel to
this modern turbine, and he like the story goes, when it came into the yard here, people thought Tom O'Leary had lost the plot. Like, this small thing isn't going to
how was it going to do the work?
So they had to take out the water wheel, put in the turbine. It sits on a lignum vitae bearing at the perfect position, vertical shaft, and you have a pulley system then driving the mill, and that all has to line up and run the mill as it did before, you know. Yeah, I'll show you the turbine. Yeah. So it's now again it's.
Jeez, there's some other stuff down here.
So I heard we started this one. We started the turbine. And I'll show you how, we'll go to the power source, yeah? So, if you can see that there. So what you have is it's a scroll turbine. So I looked at this for years and I was like, that doesn't fit there's different families of turbine. It'd be like you'd have, I don't know, 4-wheel drive versus 2-wheel drive. Precision shop versus single shop. And this wasn't fitting any of the kind of families, and again, which we usually see there, Dr. Colin Wren, who's the industrial archaeologist, he was looking at it going, I don't know what that is, he said, but he sent it around to the people he knows, and he did a guy in America, said, oh, that's a scroll turbine, patented in 18 whatever, and there's only 1 or 2 in America, so it's actually really unusual. Right. But what you have inside the casing is it's a series of buckets as such. The water comes in through the casing, and it's like the water. It's like a seashell. It gets smaller as it goes around, catches the buckets. Water comes up, and you've got a mirror in the bottom, and the water goes down. And it just drives the vertical shaft. So if you there's a door
Aye, that's tied to a door there.
Yeah, something around today.
Jesus.
Well, there's a bit of a rock in it that I can give her a short spin, but I need to do a bit of a lining in it properly.
Yeah.
It's on my list of to-dos.
That's amazing.
And that's what poured the mill.
You see that as what?
1918, yeah. I mean, we've taken it out twice, kind of for 60,000 hour maintenance, you know. We had she was stopped for about 10 years there, and about 3 or 4 years ago we just took it apart again, and they've been in the new loft. My cousin went there, Connor, to help with the loft and stuff.
That's amazing.
I want to get it kind of lined up properly. And dry weather, the belts get loose, and that's why it falls off. But when this belt is on running, there's a central shaft through the mill.
Yeah.
And it's very, because it's running without noise, and it's all you hear is the bearings and the shaft turning, and it's yeah. I'd love to get a millstone going at some point, because my dad tells the story. My dad's bedroom was probably 30 feet from the millstones, and he used to go to sleep or wake up with the sound of the millstones going.
So then that might come in and power this.
Yes.
And then that powered it going up.
So there's 2 pulleys on the shaft.
Yeah.
The bottom one does the millstones, so they'd run a set of millstones, and the other one then I'll show you here. Is here. So that's a horizontal shaft that runs right across there, right? So if you wanted to add something, you'd throw a pulley on, you'd size your pulley and fire it on the main shaft.
Put onto that shaft.
So there's there's a saw bench outside the window. There's like a grinding hammer mill there. You've got the shakers here. So these guys here, look, so that your bran and flour would come down here.
Yeah, and it'd be all sorted out. And
yeah, so this is all, there's a little camshaft, is it not a crankshaft?
right, yeah.
And she'd just be shaking. So your floor goes down, your band goes out. This is for rolling barley. Like where I live now, the year before I started doing it up, we lived in the grain store. There was 14 tons of oats inside in the loft, which is now our bathroom. And Dad he'd come down here and he'd grind oats for horses, like, you know, for using the water. To give you a sense of what I was driving, so there's 3 sets of millstones on one pulley. So the main shaft off the other pulley, hammer mill, saw bench, hammer mill. There's a thing there for charging tractor batteries behind the post that was on. See the 2 leads going down there?
Yeah.
That was for charging some sort of a battery going back.
Time.
Yeah, I've never.
So now we have a generator. Or
Exactly, yeah.
We can add on at some stage.
Yeah, there was a saw bench here behind you, a table saw. You had this rolling mill for oats, which was I put that going a couple of years ago, just for demonstration. You had the shakers for the
Bran and all
bran.
that. Yeah.
And then we go in here. So this is one of the first places around with electricity.
Yes.
So you had in the corner there's see the size of that there. So you had a generator, 110 volt DC.
Yes.
And this was this General Electric generator, and this is the control board. Yeah, and we have all the fuses there still. Like
all fuses.
My grandmother used to come out apparently in the 70s, and the whole place. Like if you can imagine now generating electricity. That pulley there, like what size is that?
That's a big pulley down into a very small pulley.
And you have the shaft going through the mill spinning and the belts, and she'd have to come out with her oil lamp and get in under all that and shut the turbine to turn off the electricity and go to bed. You know.
Wasn't just like flicking the switch.
There's a pump here for pumping water.
I see the pump, yeah.
The grindstone. The pump is here, sorry.
Yeah, sharp.
And then you had this lathe my grandfather put in. You'd be trying to turn wood here and the whole place shaking, you know, and no e-stop, you have to go outside to turn off the water thing. But there's nobody, like my grandfather, no, again, he made that for, he put it on the lathe. It's for making handles of pikes.
Yes.
So you can see there is a,
it chamfers it into.
Exactly, yeah, you know. So
homemade.
Exactly, yeah.
Done the job. Yeah. So you had the power, you see.
Yeah, and
that's something that no one else had.
And it was just add things as needed then, you know.
These are timbers going into it.
Yeah.
There's some
job.
Some job.
Great to see it being
restored or
well, not restored,
but preserved.
It's unusual to see them intact still.
Yeah.
Because the roof, that tin roof back in whenever 50s.
That's what's it.
About the rain.
Yeah. Around a lot of the local businesses, local machinery things, just a bit of a sightseeing tour, I suppose, doing a bit for Cork tourism, I suppose. But anyways, but firstly, we are here in Derry O'Donovan's yard. We're here with Aoife, and we just had a quick look around what to have. So what is it that you do here?
So basically we're machinery dealers, and the brands we sell is Crone, Amazon, Smith and Connor and Quickie. And I suppose my dad's been in business 25 years, and the businesses has built up over the years, and we'd be the main dealer for the whole of Cork for those brands. And we sell a lot to all the contractors, because we have a lot of contractors in this area. As well, we have another business, we do shed building as well.
Oh, okay.
So we come as like a double team, because we'll build your shed.
Hand selling machines.
Machinery, yeah.
It's a big massey. So we're just with Hurley's that brought us out just to see them working. Selection of Massey's 8270. I've never actually seen one in the flesh. There's some lump of a tractor.
The base of you, isn't it?
Yeah. Completely different to the 62.
Oh yeah.
Even the cab is probably the only thing that's the same.
That's right, for engaging the drum. He's giving bottle and so there's a switch down there.
So we're just here now with DJ O'Driscoll, and we're going to have a look at his collection of tractors and harvesters and all you have.
Yeah, and one John Deere.
And what? Sorry?
One John Deere harvester.
One John Deere
And the
harvester.
rest of them are two more.
Yeah.
Fenton, they're not here now today. Fenton, Lamborghini, and John Deere, and the feet.
Yeah.
The feet is above there on the yard above.
Of all the Fords that had ever tempted me, it'd have to be a TW.
Yeah, if you drove for a day, no, you wouldn't be so fun.
Oh, it's only a weekend driver, is it?
Well, it's his tractor, he does all the work with it.
2305.
Covered blankets, Kevin.
Strange how the spout is done with the ram. The ram on top, lift up the spout.
Like we'll say now, you can see it goes onto the stand. Like you can't really move the chute back and forward, you know.
So,
like when you
you
lift it up
have
and swing
to
it around.
lift it up and then swing it that it sits onto that.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, so like if you've funny trailer men,
Yeah.
it's hard to get them to do anything like.
You it's not like nowadays you can the harvester can swing the spout back to fill the back of the
We have a John
trailer.
Deere 6950 now, but that's a lot in there. If you're not paying attention, you can
You
swing the way out back.
swing it around and that, yeah.
To pick up someday again.
Is that basically is that like a 717?
No, it'd be a bigger.
Before-
Probably the 719 it was based on. It's similar to setup.
Yeah.
This is the exact same. So you nearly see there. There's only literally it goes in there and sure the chute.
You see the names there. There's the names.
Yeah.
There the knives there.
They're two little feed rollers straight in. And there was a few of them back up our country.
Yeah, was
There was one of them had no cab.
Oh, but yeah, they had no cabs to start
They
them.
started them, yeah.
Start them and no cabs, that's right,
Yeah,
that's
no
right.
cab.
Great visibility how the cab anyways. It's all glass.
You had no freedom here to say to take in the stuff.
The concept was right, but they never made it big
That's
enough.
right, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole setup was too narrow, you know.
narrow, yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
broaden it out enough at all.
No.
And they were a good old machine to keep going, and they had a metal detector and all this kind of thing. Like,
That's
but
right, yeah.
that machine originally came from England. Wasn't it? Yeah,
think so, yeah.
England. That was worked in England for many years.
many years.
And then it was brought over here, and the fellow bought it, only used it for a couple of years, and I bought it off of him, and we have it there with Subbus. We have it nearly 20 years now, I suppose.
More. The 1905 came in 02.
That's right,
20
yeah.
years ago.
That's
this
right,
is
yeah.
30 years
She's
ago.
nearly 30 years long. We didn't use it over a while. June 75 for £3,550. Brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah, hitch, pick-up hitch, power steering, the lot.
No dual power.
Was it the OK
Buy the diesel now.
We don't pick up much, but for our few customers, it's grand.
Yeah.
You know, that's only a B puller he got last year. A fella gave it to him, just take it.
Oh, I know. Blame for it. Can't please everybody. Like me, case Lord Waterford said, I've been had the pleasure of being told a few times. They were a great tractor in their day. Them majors, something.
The majors, yeah.
And came out in 1952.
52.
Oh, they were a great tractor, and they were, see, you self-starting, you know, and you had the diesel engine,
Yeah.
You're all them way more than diesel yokes. So, right?
Oh, yeah.
They made diesel yokes obsolete straight away. Like. And they were,
She's no lift now.
they were great tractors.
No lift.
That's the story.
She was just made for fun.
Two of the Fergusons, they kept the diesel and the TV over. Yeah. Very hard to keep them running smoothly.
Yes, it didn't
Very hard.
Yeah.
They were an awful funny old tractor, an awkward old tractor, you know.
The clutch and the brake pedal was the wrong way around.
That's right, yeah.
That's what we had other keys. Cheers.
He was
pulling away fine and he got the head.
But a little one said, was the fella headed up what about it?
Oh yeah.
The one behind it now then, another man still there behind it now again.
35.
Said you
TVO.
need a interest in them. The 35.
TVO.
TVO 35.
He bought the Lamborghini, that was the first foreign colour to come in. And then he bought the Fint. She came from Murphy's. 13 for him.
What did you think about someone Joe Buckley told me?
As well, 78 or 79. Will you put it yourself?
You must have got to have picked it to get that. You'd never be that lucky.
We're friends in
the right places.
Yeah, we had